The Boston Celtics are gambling with their dynasty, and no one should mistake this for a routine reshuffle. Fresh off an unforgettable championship run in 2024 and a near repeat in 2025, Boston now stands on a knife's edge. In a stunning twist of fate, they will launch the 2025-26 season without Jayson Tatum for most of the year, leaving Jaylen Brown as the last true pillar of an empire that once terrified the league. This is not simply a roster update, it's a foundational shift, the kind that could leave a lasting mark on the franchise for the next decade. What's truly jarring is not that Kristaps, Porziņģis, and Jrue were moved, salary dump. Trades happen all the time, but rather why it happened. Boston's front office faced a chilling reality. Their brilliant, versatile, hard-nosed squad was rotting at the core with aging, injury-prone stars shackled to bloated, inflexible contracts. It was a strategic time bomb. Holiday and Porziņģis were as vital as they were fragile, and paying them premium dollars while praying for healthy springs was no longer tenable. Brad Stevens didn't panic. He calculated, by unloading nearly $63 million in combined salary, Boston squeezed under the new second apron for the first time in years, reclaiming financial tools like the mid-level exception that had been off-limits in their luxury tax prison. But the money is only part of it. The deeper shift is psychological. This franchise had been built on star-centric gravity, with Tatum and Brown orbiting around shot-creating bigs and a lockdown defensive guard. Now, Boston is being reimagined around adaptability and future-proofing, prioritizing youth and optionality over expensive, brittle star power. Yet this pivot leaves glaring wounds. Porziņģis had unlocked Boston's pick-and-pop actions, stretching defenses and creating those precious driving lanes for Tatum and Brown. Without him, Al Horford's declining mobility, and Luke Kornet's limited rim deterrence, the Celtics risk becoming one-dimensional in their frontcourt. Worse, the Spurs are sniffing around Kornet, the unsung hero of Boston's 2024 title run, threatening to poach the last credible seven-footer on the roster. Jrue Holiday's departure cuts even deeper. He wasn't just a defensive specialist, he was the Celtics' chaos stabilizer. His ball pressure, his fearless cross-matches on scorers from Trae Young to Jimmy Butler, his cold-blooded calm in fourth-quarter traps, these are not things you plug and play with a rookie. Without him, Boston's perimeter defense could disintegrate under playoff stress. With opponents relentlessly hunting mismatches, the recalibration strategy will hinge on how boldly Boston attacks the free agent market. One name looms like a tantalizing risk: Deandre Ayton, only 26. Once the Boston Celtics have already been forced to sacrifice Kristaps, Porziņģis, and Jrue Holiday this summer on the unforgiving altar of the NBA's second apron, a punitive system designed to break up super teams. Now, with free agency looming, Boston is staring down the barrel of losing yet another crucial pillar of its rotation. Over the weekend, reputable insiders Jake Fisher and Mark Stein dropped a bombshell. The Celtics are increasingly unlikely to retain Luke Kornet, who has become an under-the-radar but vital part of their interior ecosystem. Lurking in the shadows are the San Antonio Spurs, who could swoop in with their entire $14.1 million mid-level exception to pry him away, a figure Boston is simply in no position to match without drastic sacrifice. The numbers are merciless. Despite executing two high-profile salary dumps to squeeze under the second apron, Boston remains financially strangled. There is no room for maneuver unless they gut the roster even further, potentially offloading Anthony Simons the moment he arrives, or shipping out Sam Hauser before he fully develops. These are not decisions made lightly, and they threaten to destabilize any sense of cohesion left on a team still reeling from painful summer departures. And don't think San Antonio is bluffing. Around the league, rival executives know the Spurs are hell-bent on reinforcing the frontcourt to protect and empower their generational jewel. Victor Wembanyama. Kornet's veteran steadiness would fortify their center rotation, while the Spurs could still pursue a rugged power forward with their biannual exception. If those moves fall into place, San Antonio's transformation from a rebuilding project to a legitimate playoff threat next season becomes terrifying. This brief glimpse might look like a beacon of hope for Jayson Tatum, but behind it lies a brutal reality that no Celtics fan should ignore. Tatum's postseason ended in absolute devastation when he suffered a complete Achilles tendon rupture during Boston's Eastern Conference semifinal clash against the Knicks on May 20, an injury so severe that he was rushed into surgery less than 24 hours later. Even though he put on a brave face in the aftermath, vowing to power through the long, punishing recovery, the real battle has only just begun. Last week, Tatum took 2x to share his raw frustrations about the agonizing rehab process, hinting that his spirit was already being tested by the grueling limitations of post-surgery life. Achilles tears are not only career-threatening, but they also have a notorious track record of destroying explosiveness and lateral of himself doing weighted core exercises with a medical boot strapped to his leg, trying to prove that he's unwilling to surrender to this cruel injury. But that image, as inspiring as it might seem, is a reminder of the harsh odds he faces. Players with Achilles ruptures rarely come back the same, and the Celtics know it, even if they won't say it out loud. Boston has yet to announce a concrete timeline for Tatum's return, but the average recovery for such a catastrophic injury is 9 to 12 months, and that's only to regain basic functionality. Realistically, Tatum might not reclaim his peak form until late in the 2025-26 season. If ever, yes, seeing him back in the gym is encouraging. But Celtics fans would be wise to brace for a hard truth. Achilles tears have derailed countless superstar careers before, and there is no guarantee that the Tatum we knew will ever walk through that door again. The Celtics have already ignited a seismic off-season shakeup, torching their old roster blueprint with a pair of ruthless trades and a calculated draft strategy. Now, as the chaotic gates of NBA free agency swing open, the next critical trial begins, one that could either steady Boston's teetering ambitions or plunge them further into a dangerous unknown. There's no sugarcoating it. Boston is cornered by a brutal salary cap environment, forced to prioritize cost-cutting over roster reinforcement. They moved swiftly, dealing away two of their most recognizable pillars, Jrue Holiday, the experienced defensive backbone, and Kristaps Porziņģis, their higher-risk, higher-reward big, in a move as financially necessary as it was emotionally jarring. In their place, they took back players whose upside feels unproven, Anthony Simons, Georges Niang, and a bundle of second-round picks. The goal was clear: escape the stranglehold of the second salary cap apron, even if it meant rolling the dice on less proven assets. But their problems are far from solved. Entering free agency, Boston faces a fragile front line with two veterans, Luke Kornet and Al Horford, whose futures hang in the balance. Kornet, coming off an unexpected surge in impact minutes, is about to command a salary that could obliterate Boston's precious financial flexibility. Horford, about to turn 39, might be staring down the twilight of his career, especially with the team's championship window slammed shut after Jayson Tatum's catastrophic injury. If the Celtics cannot secure those two, their paper-thin front court depth threatens to become a fatal flaw. Brad Stevens has publicly stated his desire to keep Horford and Kornet in green, leaning on their institutional knowledge and locker room steadiness. But money talks, and Boston's budget is whispering in a hushed, cautious tone. The Celtics hold bird rights for both, granting them technical power to pay what it takes. But wielding that option could quickly throw them back over the financial cliff they just escaped. Even more ominous, free agency is rarely kind to teams with shallow pockets. Rivals flush with cap room will pounce on overlooked veterans, shrinking Boston's options. That will likely drive the Celtics back into the trade market, where assets like Simons Niang or Sam Hauser might have to be flipped yet again, this time for a more reliable frontcourt presence. Flexibility for the Celtics is practically non-existent. Every move is an exercise in financial tightrope walking, every signing a potential trigger for another cap penalty. So here's the brutal truth. The Celtics are staring at a make-or-break summer, with no guarantee of salvation. Their dynasty ambitions are still alive, but only barely, clinging to the hope that aging bigs will return, bargain deals will materialize, and Tatum will eventually heal in time to keep the dream alive. If any piece of that puzzle falters, the entire machine risks collapse. The stakes could not be higher.